everybody, and welcome to episode 356 of the Saturn Studs Podcast. I'm the returning Kurt, joined once again this week by my ever-dependable co-hosts Peter and Jake.
That's right. We're here every week, and I'm here with the feature of this week, what this episode is based on. I'm here with the ghost of DJ Khaled, DJ Khaled. That's the one. Here he is with his sneaker pillows and his comfy chair. Rest in peace, DJ Khaled. And then wake up 8 hours later after having rested very well. In peace.
Peter, did you take that chair from an AU dorm?
I don't honestly remember.
It has a certain Alfredian quality to it.
Yeah.
It's been with me for a while. It has a stain. Actually,
like
I remember.
Six or so years ago.
I remember
when you graduated college.
So in furnishing my apartment, I only went to the finest thrift stores. And so I got this, and I got my nice Japanese print lamp with bamboo on it. Is it cohesive? Does my apartment have a cohesive theme? No, never.
It doesn't need it. It only needs it when you introduce a female into your living quarters, and that they're actually staying there, like they get a say.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I'll give you a story. Last night, Kristen comes home, maternity clothes shopping. Their mother's there, yada yada yada. She's like, "What's that underneath the coffee table?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the Mandalorian books. That's why, if in case you're wondering." And then I pull them out. I'm like, "Actually, these belong on top of the coffee table." And she had just decorated for March, St. Patrick's Day. So I'm like, "Oh, look, this is green. It can stay out." So I take these giant Mandalorian books and just place them in the most inconvenient spots on the coffee table for all to show. And I'm like, "Oh, and now we have to get season 3 now because season 3 is out tonight."
It starts tonight.
It started yesterday, actually.
Yeah. So that was and she didn't seem to like it, but you know what? They haven't moved. Why? Because this is
you can't pick them up.
You can wear them down. You can wear them down.
Yeah.
I don't know about yours, but mine. It's very easy to outlast her in a war of attrition.
Sometimes you just have to sneak things past them or be real adamant about things. Like there's still a Bills helmet above our guest room bathroom that I put there just because we had a nail there from the previous owners, and that was the only thing that fit. And she's like, "Yeah, okay, that works," but she never replaced it. It's been up there for 2 years. It was like one of the first things we hung up in this house, and it hasn't changed.
Jake, you gotta take it down for April Fool's Day, and see if she gets there's weird feelings, like there's something wrong with the house.
I should do that with all the pictures.
Yes.
Should just swap like Danny DeVito's face in for
gaslight your pregnant wife.
Give him the old pictogram shuffle.
Knowing my luck, we'll be too lazy to take him down, and we'll just keep him up there, like the alive ahaha fuck cross stitch that we have in our kitchen that always is asked about whenever we have adults over. They're like, "Does that say what I think it says, Jacob?"
I mean, it sure looks like it, don't it?
Yeah, I was like, "What do you think?" I don't know. The only kids that we have coming over here can't read, so let alone cursive.
Oh, that's right. See, now that's the advantage we have over the Zoomers.
Mm-hmm.
Zoomers can't write cursive.
Yeah.
Can you really write cursive?
They made me write cursive for the SAT.
I know, me too. They had to put it up on the board because no one remembered how to write anything in cursive.
I'm surprised they put it up on the board. I was gonna say, that's such a dumb fucking rule. write this. It was like a paragraph, a small
Yeah, it
paragraph.
was a sworn
Yeah.
statement that you didn't cheat on the test, that you had to write out in cursive.
Oh, that's such a chuggy thing to do. That's such a boomer mentality. Tell me you grew up during the Depression without telling me you grew up during the Depression.
Please use the shorthand flowy notation.
Yeah.
To write this serious statement.
Fucking crazy. Anyways, we're coming at you live as always from gate A52 at your local airport inserted here. At the
A1 steak.
best airline out there.
Transamerica.
How do I spear down? Yeah. So this isn't a paid partnership with any of those companies.
He was trying to Three Stooges every airline at the same time.
I couldn't pick one. I just like them all too much,
Yeah, that's the problem.
I like them all too much. So
I've had too great an experience on so many of them.
Yeah. We walk in. It's great customer service. They say, where you're flying to. They make some jokes, and we hopefully don't die getting there.
See, what you don't know is you can actually have a really great experience flying. All it takes is you need a soundbite of Ronald Reagan to spring on the air controllers if they start giving you flack. They'll have a instinctual reaction to all being fired.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's what the banning sign in the Ronald Reagan faces. They said no Reagans allowed in here.
Get them out of here.
You ever want to spook a flight attendant? Just say trickle down economics.
I believe it was the air traffic
remember
controllers.
The time when fucking Reagan just undermined the entire concept, all the strength of unions.
Remember when Biden did that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Fuck! And then we had a derailment.
It's an American. We had a bunch.
It's a proud American tradition. Yes. Undermining unions when it's inconvenient for you.
He's the most union pro. He is the most pro-union fucking old man out there. He just loves them so much. He says, I just want you to go back to work. Go get paid.
I gotta go get back to playing Pokemon.
None of your demands will be satisfied. See you on Monday.
Yo, remember when unions said collective bargaining and they were good for workers? Me too. Turns out not if you're rail workers.
So the thing is, you have to be in a union that's important enough to exist, but not so important that it threatens the nation's function were you to stop.
And this is where I bring up the unions at Northrop, which I was a part of, one of them, SEA all the way. Which I think I've heard
management don't bring that union shit in our house.
I love unions. Unions help out also professionals as well. They fight for shit, and then it usually ends up becoming company policy. Hey, I know you guys hate unions. You're like, oh, just get up there on the ladder and change the light bulb, monkey. Just do it. Just do it. Who says it's not your job? Whatever.
Our company meetings are actually just the Hunger Games. That's the employee evaluation.
Well, you see, the easy way around job description not being in your job description is it's how they got me. And you put this little bullet at the end. Other duties as required.
Yeah, other duties.
It's a dynamic environment.
See, I like the part of unions where the worker with the lowest performance is then released into a field, and then management just takes pop shots with their rifles at them. If they get to the end, they're fired.
I have a cannon.
If that hasn't happened yet, no workers have been fired yet.
When they say continuous improvement, they just refer to survival of the fittest.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the
corporate
S's.
Darwinism.
That's the small c in the 5 S's. It's actually 10 C's, just backwards. Little known fact. No, we got it wrong. It was actually 10 C's, not 5S.
Well,
What was I saying about you?
you were saying that the 6S and 5S, because it comes from Japan, the 6S stands for seppuku,
Seppuku.
for dishonoring the name of the company.
So Northrop Union started to strike like a year ago about now, probably. Yeah. And they caved, Northrop caved, and the Union caved. They both kind of caved collectively. That's what they mean by collective bargaining. They both caved collectively instantly.
You mean
when
they
threatened to strike.
negotiated an agreeable settlement?
Yeah, but it wasn't all that great. I think they got like one thing that they wanted out of like 5 or something. But so they end up not striking because I heard some statistic that like every hour or something like that like Northrop strikes, they lose like multiple millions of dollars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even like aside from the financials, I feel like having like a company like them going on strike seems like a lot more of a problem to corporate, because their picket lines have ablative armor and long bore cannons.
Yeah,
They roll up, and their protest wagons have tank treads.
well, and corporate's like, we need our workers, like we need them like crazy. Like they know more shit than some of the engineers do, and I'm not wrong, but that's because they've worked there for 50 years. The only people getting those like 50, 60 year like prizes that they
them golden watches, baby.
They fish on are the union workers. They're there before Northrop existed. Westinghouse, bitch. They're all out there holding up Westinghouse, bitch. It's like a gang sign. Anyways, that was Union Studs.
What the fuck were we even talking about?
I don't know. You said Biden and I fucking blacked
Oh,
out.
yeah. Peter was making a joke about how Reagan threatened the air traffic controllers, not the flight attendants.
Yeah, they're all combined.
And he made them jump out a window. And then there was a guy there who was just in every scene, making a ham out of every scene.
Well, that guy. That guy has some great lines in the sequel too.
Oh, fuck, let me figure out. I gotta remember what his name is, because I tried paying attention to specifically who he was, but I obviously forgot. We are, of course, talking about the modern hit Airplane. Let's see who we got by the Zuckers. It was, come on, where's the cast? Show me the cast. There's so many people. Yeah,
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I knew it was James Hong in this.
He has 3 names.
Who is the guy? Fuck.
Otto, the inflatable.
No, the really flashy guy who was like, he would just like chime in with the most ridiculous.
Oh, I just moused over his thing. Ugh.
Jonathan Banks?
Yes, I think. No.
Wait, who was he in that?
Yeah. I just fucking had my mouse over his guy.
Flashy guy. I don't.
Flamboyant.
Yeah.
Gay?
I mean, we don't know. He did not indicate who he liked having sex with, so.
Who's the gay one in Airplane? Sorry. Airplane!
My mouse was just over it.
I'm hoping IMDb pictures will have it. Oh, look at them. They're all old. Why does he have goggles on?
Steven
Is he about to play
Stucker.
racquetball?
Steven Stucker.
Who plays air traffic controller Johnny Henshaw Jacobs.
I'm sure, like, even though they never say they maybe say his first name once, he definitely made that up. He's like, I want my character to have a nickname middle name. and I'm going to just crack non sequiturs.
So I'm scrolling through the
second half of
pictures.
the movie.
I'm scrolling through the pictures on IMDb, and Jim Abrams did a thing not too long ago at an event, and boy, he's got them big old goggle glasses that you put on like 4-year-olds who just got their first pair of glasses, so they don't break.
Yep. Amazing.
He's really cool. I want those though.
Well, if you have those glasses, you know what you'd be able to do, Jake. You could use your eyes to watch some trays. On this Trae Watch, the segment where we watch trailers.
I could also play
Clapping
racquetball.
necessary.
No.
Is
I will not wear short pants.
Those aren't clapping. Just casual gunshots popping off in the background.
There was
Sure,
a cop
it is Trae.
outside my window last night. Not viewed from the window, like he was like hanging like a Dracula. You know, you just don't
Upside down.
You don't invite him in. You know, they don't have a warrant. They have to stop at your doorstep.
The rules for cops are a lot like vampires, aren't they?
Yeah, we started nailing garlic to our front door so they would stay away. Too many cops started coming up to us. Not this time.
See, all those
There's a
movies,
river in front of you.
All those movies where the cops like jump over the drawbridge, it's actually to like it's lies. It's to propaganda because cops can't cross moving bodies of water.
It's true. They have to bury themselves in dirt in crates and then take a ship over.
Yes.
Because that rule really super mattered in that book because he got from Transylvania to England anyway.
Powerful. Much like the most powerful lich of our time, Ray Romano, in somewhere in Queens.
Somewhere in Queens lies Ray Romano, who woke up and said, I think we'll try directing.
I'm gonna make a movie.
But yeah, it's Ray Romano. He has a life in Queens. He works construction. My kids good at basketball. My family, they're so Italian.
They're like Family Guy cutaway levels of Italian. Like it's almost it's like a bad Family Guy joke. But that's what happens. And the son, he could have been someone. He could be a contender.
Yeah, and his girl wakes up with him,
But then
and it's really sad. And that's the movie. I don't
It kind of looks really sad.
feel it's trying to be very serious.
It's
but
like
with
one of those, one of those like coming of age stories. You know.
Yeah, it's a bold choice for someone who's never directed a movie before to try to tell this kind of story. But you know, maybe it's something he's had in his head for a while, and it's deeply personal to him, and it ends up being like Rocky.
And at least from the trailers, like if this is directorial debut, but like it seems fine. Like from the trailer, in terms of directing, it looks okay. It seems it's following
competent.
Good cinematic grammar. There's nothing that like stands out to me is bad.
There's nothing innovative, but I wouldn't expect that. But like to your point, Peter, it follows a lot of the rules that I talk about in our reviews, and it looks perfectly competent.
Yeah, and you could say, oh, that's the editor doing it. That's not the director, but the director has to. He makes the choices.
He's typically in the room with the editor.
Yeah.
There's also a big basketball element to this too. He finds out he's pretty good at basketball, and Ray Romano's character, I think, pushes him to be better and like take it somewhere, but maybe he pushes him too hard. I'm not sure.
Well, the premise is like he wants him to get the sports scholarship, so get out of this town. this town being Queens.
Yeah. The
Not
small town of Queens.
the going nowhereville of Queens, New York.
And they're
No.
living in their shack.
Hey, my ma's from Queens. I take umbrage to that. I take Dolores umbrage.
Well, we're a Bronx family. Deal with it.
At least we're not from Yonkers.
Pelham Ave. Suck my dick.
Oh, Yonkers! It's time for my yearly,
Jake's
inner
about
debate,
to go bonkers on Yonkers.
Inner debate about because taxes are due, and
How Yonkers has an exception and everything.
well, I guess I don't need to worry about that shit anymore. I don't think. Yeah, that's right. New York. It was only
Are you
for New
sure?
York.
Yonkers might show up on Maryland taxes. I don't know.
I'll see. I'll let you guys know if Yonkers pops up anywhere. I'll be like, "Are you a Yonkers citizen?"
So the reason Yonkers has so many weird tax things is because they would otherwise fall in like the very high tax counties around them. And obviously that would not be popular because the median wages in Yonkers are far lower than they are in the city. So they have a lot of rules and exceptions to kind of lower their burden.
Look, that's a way better guess than what I would have said. So
it's not a guess; it's actually the situation.
I thought, and it might actually be still. I mean, I thought it was the universe that Pee Wee Herman lives in. That house exists in the zone of Yonkers. Ain't no way you're going to tax that the same. I mean, it does get USPS sent there because USPS has to be delivered everywhere. But like the property tax in that Pee Wee Playhouse house has to be like crazy low. I can't imagine they're all pulling in really high salaries around there.
What if Yonkers was like an economic superfund site? Like most tax breaks are controlled demolitions, but this one was a catastrophic tax break. Like the taxes broke. Tax shrapnel just went everywhere. Financial ruin, as far as the eye can see.
What is a Yonkers?
What
miserable pile of secrets?
Yonkers.
At what time do you yonk?
The Urban Dictionary defines Yonkers as the backyard of the Bronx. Population 200,000, 18 square miles. McLean Avenue divides Yonkers from the Bronx. Oh, thank you, Phil. Posting this January 26, 2004. Seemingly almost 20 years ago.
It's probably when the site launched.
We're growing up, boys. We're getting older. Unlike Peter Pan and Wendy.
Ah, yes, Peter Pan, Wendy. The one movie that I was really hoping was going to be on my 2023 bingo card that I was going to be able to get to watch on Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. And looks like my Disney Plusy is going to be fulfilled with Peter Pan and Wendy.
That one got me. I don't know why, but Disney Plusy. That one that plucked a string in my soul. I'm vibrating at a lower frequency now. It's
that
just
Disney,
The only notable thing to me about this trailer is that the one child who introduced themselves as the Lost Boys sounded a little bit like Big Shaq to me, and that's about all the enjoyment I derived from this trailer.
That's just how black people in England sound, Kurt. I watched many episodes of The Chicken Connoisseur.
Did you all make your popcorn and get ready for the Twitter? Rah, 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 Angry Man yells at clouds about Tinkerbell being black and the Lost Boys, including females in it, or dare I say, girls.
You know what? It wasn't front and center.
I didn't really notice that Tinkerbell was black. Wow.
You don't see color?
No, I just didn't pay close attention. And
really
she's
inappropriate
small for most of it.
Yeah.
So
and glows yellow.
I didn't miss the one shot that had her. I missed the one shot that had her in frame as being black.
Just because you don't see color doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I
So
mean, obviously I see color. I'm a little colorblind, but that's not how it works.
I mean, I say, I mean, we're all talking about this, but we're ignoring the fact that Peter Pan is literally divorced. He's literally separated from his shadow self.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
like
want them to.
it's like in Kingdom Hearts when you have to fight Shadow Sora.
Something separate but equal. No, what I want them to do, they're not going to do it in this. I want them to bite the bullet. I want Peter Pan to kidnap these kids, hold them hostage, like he does in the manga.
in the manga version of Peter Pan.
They're leaving out the evil Peter arc.
They're whitewashing his history.
So they definitely also whitewashed the hell out of the Indians by excluding all the racist elements to it, and that's upsetting.
You're appropriating our cultural appropriation.
They should keep some of the insensitive shit in there, like awesome.
Yeah, I never understood where that originated from.
Probably this fucking movie. Probably Peter Pan.
Could be.
I wonder if they were the first ones to do it. And they're like, hey, ain't this goofy for like some Reds to start going,
Not impossible.
Walt Disney was on one, dude. Have you ever seen
I kind of wonder if that was just how people tried to imitate the war calls because they couldn't do it like
probably.
Yeah,
honestly.
I looked it up. I'm looking it up on Quora, which, as we know, is just an absolutely factual source.
It's the spiritual successor Yahoo Answers, and that's what I appreciate about it.
So they did. The question is, as posed by the questionnaire, did Native Americans ever make that ooh with their hand over their mouth, like you used to hear on cowboy/Indian films? And the answers are. Let me post that for you to read.
Oh, no, I have to read it.
No. The answer is all tribes are different. There are 573 recognized tribal nations in the U.S. There is a two-part answer to this question. One, no tribe I ever know of made this noise with their hand over their mouth. However, some tribes make this noise called ululation in all the situations where a European would applaud by moving the tongue and uvula inside the mouth. When they were in school, my kids lived in fear of me doing this at a school awards ceremony. But to be fair, so did every other Comanche kid they went to school with. In our tribe, the noise is made exclusively by women and gay men. Amazing.
So there you have it, straight from someone claiming to be a Comanche Indian on the or Native
from
American.
Wayoti O'Clerc Stern, who has studied being Comanche / Numunu. Interesting.
Good.
Thank you, Quora. Thank you, Rabbit Hole. Moving along.
That's interesting. That'd be a Comanche person, considering the Comanche were just shown in a recent Hollywood movie.
Wait.
Prey.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Peter, you are the weirdest guy I know in terms of memory. You can't remember what you had for breakfast this morning, what you said to me at lunch, but you remember that one random uncommon from Scars of Mirrodin that breaks the commander that I was talking about.
Oh, absolutely. I just kind of rely on the global mind form to fill in all my blanks. Like you can really min-max when you have access to the world soul, you know? I can live off in this corner of the mind sphere, and I can find our next trailer in that corner somewhere around here. I think we're gonna talk about Mama Mafia.
So, in years
Born
from now,
into mafia.
when people are talking about the history of cinema, I feel like 2023 is going to be a very remembered year. And they're going to circle it and be like, so it was around about this time that cinema died, when we had Cocaine Bear and Mama Mafia make it into theaters.
Mafia Mama?
Or whichever. I'm sure it doesn't matter.
A big difference.
I assure you, it is not.
Yeah, it is just it's the Princess Diaries.
Mafiosa edition.
Yeah. And like you said, Kurt, I agree that this would be better served as a TV series, like a little season of the show.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell for the longest time if this was supposed to be a movie or a TV show.
Like a combination of Weeds and Entourage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, they've made this show before, pretty much. So you know that it works. And I don't know, it's just there's nothing about it that looks particularly like terrible, but it's all very unoriginal. And
these are also like some of this is in the top tier of over the top Italians.
No, that's about right.
They all simultaneously lean over their shoulder and spit when your rival family is mentioned.
It was a weird time in Italy, but yeah.
Neck flexibility was at an all-time high.
Yeah. It's a great year, I gotta say, though, for Italians and Italian Americans, because we're really getting the representation that we lacked in a lot of media. With they've
never made a movie about Italians before.
No, well, it's been a while. It's been a minute. And we need more. We need more of that Italian American and Italian representation. Yeah. Yes,
I mean,
we do.
Luca just came out 2 years ago.
We are getting lambast. Everybody's making fun about us, using our hands. They're breaking spaghetti in front of us.
I don't know, Jake. Brendan Fraser ate an Italian. He ate a chicken parm in The Whale. And that movie, he's going to get an award for that.
He also destroyed a pizza, 2 pizzas. It was uncomfortable
also
to watch.
Literally inhaled a meatball sub.
Yeah,
and almost died. But no, we got that Ray Romano. We got Somewhere in Queens, all big fucking thick Italian Americans, and now we got these Guidos fresh off the Italy boat.
I think they're still in Italy. I don't think
they're fresh off the boat.
They're still in the boat.
They went from America to Italy.
I don't think they got on the boat.
They're American Italians.
They missed the boat.
Yeah, these are all the true Italians who are too lazy and what's the word?
Drunk. Wino drunk.
Yeah, well, late. They sleep in. They're lazy, Oh, gabagool. They're the authentic lazy Italians that miss the boat. They're not punctual. They miss the boat.
Well,
they never
Italians
left
don't have a history of being punctual. That's another cultural aspect they stole from the Greeks.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because Italy has no culture of its own.
We earned.
It's all
earned
North African and Grecian.
We earned all of our culture. You try building all that shit and doing culture at the same time. No.
I could try my hand at building the Tower of Pisa.
I think I can get the stand up straight.
We let Greece do all the whimy blimey philosophical thinky shit
hundreds of years before Italy ever existed.
Yeah, and then we stole it, and then Italy stole it, rightfully so. It's around our area, so it belongs to us. And then the rest of Europe. But those damn Ottomans. I can't remember correctly if we got beat by the Ottomans or not. I thought
a lot of it was Rome got too big to control.
Persians too, maybe.
And had a lot of.
It makes sense. Even to this day, like Italians and Goths. There's not a lot of interaction there.
Yeah.
They called them barbarians because that's what the Romans called everyone who wasn't Roman.
Savages, pure savages. And we
think-
were going to bring our Italian heritage to them.
I think
Like-
they were like
Savages like Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
What about Mel Gibson? Does he have a trailer that I missed?
No, it wasn't he like he was Braveheart or some shit?
Yeah, but that's Scotland. That's a different time period altogether. Russell
Damn.
Crowe was
Russell Crowe.
Maximus and Gladiator. Perhaps that's what you were thinking of.
I was definitely thinking of Braveheart. I just the time I was like, oh, it's like warriors on that island. Sure, they probably fought the Romans at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think Rome ever tried to go into England.
It was at the very end.
Yeah.
That was like that was the stretch goal on that particular Kickstarter campaign.
And then shit started crumbling back at home, and they're like, "Oops."
They have the that upbeat like the Kickstarter tune. Do, 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 do. Guys, I'm happy to announce we've just reached our campaign in Gaul milestone.
Do you want to see our Roman Empire touch the edges of Europe?
And
Please give what you can. Everything helps.
And if you don't, we'll crucify you.
We know who did and didn't.
And just like a Kickstarter campaign that got too large, they brought in outside management, and it tumbled on down. That's why you don't bring in consultants. They're just going to cause you to downsize.
Look, it failed like a lot of corporations fail due to the dreaded reorg. And when Constantine came in, tried to reshuffle everything, move the capital, the whole thing just kind of fell apart.
Yeah. Didn't work.
It's almost like moving your center of operations to the very edge of your empire makes it harder to manage the totality of your empire.
And much like the Roman Empire, we have the blackening.
You know what? I didn't have a better segue into that, so we'll take it.
I guess not. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, obviously, on principle, when I saw the trailer and the premise, I was like, okay, who let the Wayans brothers back into the studio? But it's not the Wayans brothers, I don't think. And there are a couple things in the trailer that make this seem like it might not be the absolute worst.
What if it was?
I would stop well short of calling it good. I'm not sure if it wants to be like kind of more serious of a horror movie or it's going to be more like a scary movie thing. It doesn't feel like it's quite diverging on that level of silly.
Yeah.
I just had to double check to make sure it was directed at least by a black man. It was.
Yeah,
I want to make sure.
Looking at this. So yeah, it was Tim Story.
Reunite for a Juneteenth weekend getaway. Wow, did not take them long to make the Juneteenth horror movie.
Yeah, so Tim Story, known for such cinematics as 2005's Fantastic Four, Barbershop, Think Like a Man, 2021's Tom and Jerry. That was a Tim Story joint.
Oh shit, that's right, it was. And it had the rapping pigeons. I remember now.
To give him credit, though, he also did stuff like the Kevin Hart Let Me Explain special. He was a director for an episode of CSI Miami.
Which one had the rapping pigeons?
The 2021 Tom and Jerry.
The movie you didn't
he
finish.
did the Shaft remake.
I blanked out on that one.
Which
he did
Shaft
Ride Along
remake?
2.
Oh, 29.
And Ride Along. And Super Ninjas. It's a Nickelodeon live action show. He did like an episode of that.
Yeah, I mean
Just a bunch of music videos.
he's got 67 directing credits, so he's nothing if not experienced. He's
Prolific,
also the
yeah.
director for an in development Monopoly movie, slated to come out in 2027,
That's why they're playing a board game in this.
and Ride Along 3, which is
Wait,
also in development.
Have we hit the board game cinematic universe now? Is he headlining?
It's
Is he the
time to
Kevin
reboot
Feige?
Jumanji, ladies and gentlemen.
Again?
Yes.
They're gonna connect the Blackening to Monopoly to Jumanji. I'm down. I'm down for that. I'm just
I'm
surprised.
waiting for all the Settlers of Catan.
Oh shit! Yeah. I'm just surprised this guy was allowed like out of his cell after Taxi. I'm assuming he did time for that movie, right? I mean, he put.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what kind of joke that is.
Oh,
It's not good.
I just remember watching it like 20 times on like FX, along with the likes of iRobot.
And Day After Tomorrow is another FX
Day
classic.
After Tomorrow. Oh,
All the cheap, easily licensed movies they could get their hands on.
yeah.
FX
Queen Latifah
had the
and-
movies.
Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon had a moment.
A moment when
I-
they realized that maybe film was not in the cards for their careers.
So this movie, I guess. Well, no, it wasn't actually based on like a skit, but I guess there was a skit there that was very much like this. So in spirit, it's kind of one of those SNL movies where they take the one bit and just stretch it out into a feature film.
So I was thinking it was more along the lines of Scary Movie, which
That's what I thought
why,
too.
That's why I got like instantly like, yeah, Wayans brothers. Like we have I guess a evil board game isn't really in a lot of stuff, but you have the cabin in the woods aspect to this.
With
A
the
play
Saw
on
guy
classic-
on the TV.
Yeah, Saw guy on the TV, classic horror, bits from a bunch of stuff. I would be surprised if there was more. But I do like the premise that like, can they all die first?
Can't all die first. That one got me to chuckle.
Who's
a
the
little bit.
blackestest?
And there were a couple lines there, like when they were trying to figure out. Well, I know I'm not the black. I voted for Trump twice.
Twice. That was there.
That
I
got a
do
genuine
think
laugh out of me.
I do think there might be actually some good. If this is written and the actors are like do a halfway decent job of like delivery, I think this actually has like potential to be pretty
I
solid.
feel like this is going to be a movie that has a handful of good, kind of like the later scary movies, where there's a handful of genuinely funny jokes, but a lot of misfires and just sloppy movie in between them. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it turns out to be, like the first two scary movies.
I'm rewatching the trailer. I just see the guy who has a gun fucking
Oh yeah, he
pull up
turns it
sideways,
right
it sideways, pops off a couple of things in the middle of shots. His friend turns it.
Yeah. That's another one that
Okay,
got me laughing.
okay. I hope they didn't put everything in the trailer.
Yeah,
'cause fucking damn.
at first I didn't think much of this, but I'm actually a little intrigued.
Yeah.
It's one of those I'll wait for word to come back from those more
So I
curious.
will say we are very prepared to watch this movie. We've done the research. We've watched Boo 2 of Medea Halloween.
We have a extensive back catalog of black horror movies.
Black horror movies.
That's our niche.
we have actually reviewed between the three of us a shocking amount of
Yes.
black
Enough
horror.
to know that the black person usually actually doesn't die that often. It is one of those like Mandela effect kind of memes where someone made a joke about it and just kind of caught on.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone gets the joke, so I mean, it works.
Yeah.
And speaking of horror movies with black main characters, Disney's Haunted Mansion.
They're taking another stab at it after the Eddie Murphy debacle.
Featuring,
and after
featuring
the
Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
And the Muppets attempted it too.
Doing he's even got his Steve Zissou red beanie cap on.
Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito's also in this.
Danny DeVito,
Jared Leto,
Rosario
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Dawson.
Everyone's favorite Rosario Dawson.
Who's the guy from? Is he? Can't tell if he's from one of the Jordan Peele movies. I think it's the Up guy or not Up. Get Out guy.
Well, Lakeith Stanfield is the only one I don't recognize immediately.
Yeah,
so that would be my guess. Yeah, he is. He was in Sorry to Bother You.
Sorry to Bother You.
He was pretty good in that. The movie wasn't good, but he wasn't bad in it. Judas and the Black Messiah, like Death Note? ? He wasn't Get Out, and he was in Atlanta.
Okay.
Uncut Gems, apparently too. Yeah, so Haunted Mansion. They've tried to make Haunted Mansion a thing in movie form a couple times now. I don't think it was just.
We've prepared for this. We've seen the Muppet version.
I don't think the was that specifically a Haunted Mansion movie, or were they just in a Haunted Mansion?
I believe so. I believe it was like the Muppets Haunted Mansion. Yeah, it's called Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Okay, but
and it was on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I recall the circumstances of its release, but I don't know. Well, I guess what is the plot of Haunted Mansion other than it's a mansion that's haunted?
Right, and
the ride doesn't tell much of a story. You're just in the air conditioner, and they silkscreen project some ghosts next to you in the mirror as you drive by. And it's like, oh!
It has as much plot as Pirates of the Caribbean did.
Well, Pirates of the Caribbean showed the original version. They've since remodeled it to be all Johnny Depp, but or have Johnny Depp be in it a lot. They might have actually undone that after his legal drama earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a
if
collection
for no
of
other
scenes,
reasons.
Of pirate what the Caribbean was like during the time of pirates, and it was very like evocative. You know, you could look at it and like kind of be transported and interested to explore that world a little bit more. So, and to the credit, they made a fairly successful, and at least one of the movies was quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this has to play what I feel is a very fine line. It's a very small target, which is spooky. Like, you know, spoopy times 1.5, you know, where it's almost actually scary, but you have everyone. It's still like kind of a family film.
I feel like Disney has a pretty good track record of walking that line, though. You think of shit like Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town and Nightmare Before Christmas. This is kind of like the bread and butter.
Did that fall under a Disney property? I didn't realize.
Touchstone Pictures was a Disney company.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, Halloween, yeah.
And it's in Kingdom Hearts, so double check.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all on Disney Plus.
Who would you get to play? All right, in the the poorly planned out live action Nightmare Before Christmas adaptation, who would you have play Jack Skellington?
Nightmare Before live action Nightmare. It's kind of like sacrilege to even think up one.
Joel
They'll film
McHale.
it. They'll film it and cut frames to make it look like it's stop motion.
I have an idea.
One of the Skarsgårds.
Jennifer Coolidge's husband from White Lotus. AKA Uncle Ricky from Napoleon
Rick?
Dynamite. Is that what his name was? Rick? Uncle Rick?
No, that was Tommy Wiseau's character, and hopefully his character in the upcoming Big Shark.
We're hotly anticipating Big Shark.
Ever since half an hour ago, I'm stoked.
I've been keeping an eye on Big Shark ever since I saw it was coming when we were doing Best Friends Volume 2.
Yeah, you've been on it.
I've been on Big Shark. I thought Big Shark was out.
John Grise. Be perfect.
John. Yes. Okay. Interesting.
Uncle Rico. Sorry. Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. He could throw that football over the mountain.
I would. I don't know. I think one of the Skarsgårds would. That's generally their niche.
I say John Grise because if you shave him up, you don't even have to put any makeup on him.
He looks as skeletal as I do right now.
Yeah, he's a very skeleton-y man. So, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I would just get Danny Elfman to do it. Save on cost.
I really hope you're going to say Danny DeVito again.
Danny DeVito.
He could be Oogie Boogie.
He's Oogie Boogie.
Yes. That's actually a pretty good casting.
There's so many roles I think that are just Danny DeVito incarnate.
That's why he's so powerful.
He's such an in-demand character.
Kurt's made a discovery.
Beetlejuice 2?
Is there a trailer for it?
They better not make a third one.
Michael Keaton returns as Beetlejuice in...
Oh, he must have found the adrenochrome. He got inducted to the Cabal a couple of years back.
He's going back and he's playing his 80s hits.
Oh my god.
Is this upcoming? Is this out? It doesn't have any ratings. I guess it's not out yet.
I want to see like what information is on this. I love how it's also known as, and I think it's the German or maybe like the Swedish name for it. Just Better Butcher too.
Tim Burton said this film would only be made if Michael Keaton would return to reprise his role. Keaton said in March of 2014 that this is the only sequel he's interested in doing. He then proceeded to reprise his role as Batman.
Well, that's not a sequel.
The script's been worked on since 2012.
Oh dear.
Chloe Grace Moretz was rumored to play Lydia's daughter.
Oh, Chloe Grace Moretz.
Chloe, yeah.
Gotta carry. You gotta have that umlaut.
Yeah.
See the umlaut girl?
Also in fucking Tom and Jerry 2021.
Yes.
As of
it's all come together.
February deadline has confirmed that Brad Pitt's production company Plan B has boarded Beetlejuice 2 while the script has yet to be written, which contradicts the above trivia note.
Good job, IMDb.
As of April 2019, the film has officially confirmed to be shelved.
Okay. Fine.
I don't know what the sourcing on that is. But when I Googled, I Googled Danny Elfman, and Beetlejuice 2 came up in his movies, and it has like an official poster.
Yeah.
Or a poster that at least looks
a very nifty little
But it's on IMDb. I mean,
yeah, someone registered it.
Speaking of films that aren't out but could be out at a certain point, the who is it? Bat in the Shadow, which is like I don't know if they're a production company or if they're just a YouTube channel. They're a thing. They're an entity. They
Kickstarter.
announced. Okay, they kickstarted a lot of stuff. They announced. I don't know if it was today or yesterday or something like that they will have. It's the announcement of an announcement in the middle of March for the updates to Legend of the White Dragon, which is, I'm assuming that means that all of the scenes are shot and it just needs to be run through post-production and maybe some reshoots.
It means something. It's news, which is more than we've had for quite some time on this. We've been actually keeping loose tabs on this movie for a few years now.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, Jason David Frank has passed away, and he was in this movie. But yeah, we're getting an announcement of some sort in March. Optimistically, it's a release date. But the vague language they use kind of doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me.
It's classic. Like we said before, it's Kickstarter language.
Well, it also seems like a lot of the plot synopsis has been super vague and untouched for years. It still has. In the aftermath, the city was left decimated, a past reminder of the great battle and fall of heroes. The heroes were blamed, stripped of their titles, and hunted. Still a badass fucking movie poster, though.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it'd be schlocky, but the kind of schlock that I'm into.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I hope it comes out. I would like to watch it.
Yeah.
I would very much like to watch it. Okay. Let's move off trailers finally.
Yeah, so we have watched every trailer.
And take a look at the box office results in a segment we call the follow-up. And do that. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania still in first, but receiving unexpectedly stiff competition from Cocaine Bear.
This, I think, was truly a success of marketing. Maybe not an absolute success because word of mouth eventually got out that the movie was mid to poor. The marketing was so strong, we were ready to watch it this week. I was in it, and then we heard from these real reviewers. We'll get back to those real reviewers.
To paraphrase the great Martin Short as his legendary character Jiminy Glick, so much of your work I had meant to see, but then word came back from those who had.
This is exactly that. It's the fact that Ant-Man and the Wasp has dropped 70% and is now like it's on a level playing field with Cocaine Bear. In striking distance proves like I said 4 or 5 weeks in the top 10. Probably I was probably gonna eclipse that, but not by much.
Yeah. I said give it 8 weeks before it's on Disney Plus. It might only get 6.
Yeah. I was it's kind of weird. It's just that like this movie's kind of like billed as a if you compare it to like the phase 3 kind of stuff, it's like the Thor Ragnarok. It's like kind of the one of the last big names before we get a solid Avengers movie. And this is not going well. And I just think that maybe people don't really care that much about Ant-Man and the Wasp. We'd much rather see Thor over who has a few movies under his belt than
I think it was just kind of a weird match between character and situation.
Yeah.
Like the appeal of Ant-Man, I didn't get to give my 2 cents on the film last week, so I guess I'll shoehorn them in here. The appeal of Ant-Man was largely low consequence action of a street level hero who was kind of a doofus. This
And
story
heists, yeah,
feels a lot more like something the Fantastic Four would be dealing with.
Yeah. Because this was, again, I forget what what they ran into in the comic books that gave them their powers, but
They just got hit by cosmic rays.
Fantastic
They were on
Four,
an outer space adventure,
Mhm.
and they were hit by cosmic rays.
So, I was reading more into what Kang is and what Kang's all about, and like all the variants or whatever. It kind of is silly how they're running out Kang. They're doing him backwards, kind of, where they're like kind of saying, "Hey, this is our next villain, and here's all of his variants." Where in the comics they had all of these villains who seemed not connected in any way, shape, or form. And then at one point they retconned everything, which was seamless because variants exist. But they retconned it to be they're all kings. They're all these ones. The Egyptian pharaoh that fought that Fantastic Four a long time ago.
yeah.
This guy,
Immortus, I think, was the one with the big hat.
This guy, Immortus, who's like the big bad. He was in this other comic that, he wasn't called Kang, but he's Immortus, and he's actually this guy who's a time traveler and all this shit. And that was the big like twist that I think if you ever pulled off, I think you might get a bigger, I would say, normie reaction, where if comic book readers have already had that plot twist spoiled for them, maybe that's what they're banking on, is that most people have already had that twist spoiled for them, but they're not even attempting anything with this.
Yeah, like they could have pulled something cool off if they, and not even have to change Loki at all. Like you show Kang in the first one, and then you show all these other villains in other Marvel movies, and it's the same guy, but they don't say anything.
It really feels like that should have been what they did with Phase 4, right? Just have all their discrete movies and their villains be tied back to Kang. And that's like part of the reveal in Kang Dynasty or whatever the next Avengers movie is going to be called. But instead, not only did they not do that and kind of do that whole reveal in the post-credit scene of the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, they showed them defeating a Kang. Ant-Man and the Ant family,
Pretty fucking handily,
Earth's
too.
least powerful Avengers.
They didn't fight
the
for
Joke
that.
Avenger.
They didn't lose a lot in that.
They really took very little loss. I wouldn't call it easy, but they came out of it very unscathed. Even the daughter, who had only been an ant person for like 6 hours.
Yeah, Ant Machina is turns out a really good move.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny because there was an early scene with really bad CGI that we were watching, and Peter and I were riffing pretty hard on the movie the entire time. And I'm like, we saw it, and I was like, oh my god, that's like Starship Troopers level bad. And at the end of the movie, when all the ants come, I'm like, when did this movie actually become Starship Troopers?
Yeah, right.
The big bugs with the cannons on them, and the little bugs which overrun the ground forces.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, that's
yeah, we already talked a whole bunch last week about Quantumania. The only other thing I'll say is like defeating Kang with this is either it's Worf affecting one of these guys, right? It's either setting up, it's him being weak to show how like strong the Kangan fodder are, or it's just going to make them all look super weak when anyone could beat them. So it's just not good. It's not good for the whole.
I think the latter, especially with the way they did the post-credit scene, or like they alluded to the other Kangs being wary of this Kang.
Yeah.
Because he threatened them in some way. That's why he was banished in the first place. So if he's like the Kang they're all concerned about, and Ant-Man and his family on their, summer vacation just punked his ass out, what the fuck do I give a shit about Kang for?
Yeah. Why are we concerned? Why are we really concerned? Yeah, it's
just invite them over, bring them onto the nice comfy couch, and then 6 Kangs walking behind, and they give him a nice Kang bang.
Who knows? Hopefully, this Kang is not dead. Maybe that's the thing. They'll bring him back, and this is actually the one we need to worry about.
I hope.
But I don't know. Pull the same
Ant-Man-
move on him.
Yeah. I hope in their next encounter, Ant-Man gets big and he fights the big variant of Kang, whose name is King Kang.
King Kang.
And it's a big old kaiju fight.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I want that so bad.
No, that'd be
again,
fun. We can't have that in Marvel movies anymore.
No. Nor can we have it with Cocaine Bear in number 2, which is our spotlight this week.
23.2.
Because I didn't want to watch it. So we're going to see what other people had to say about it.
$34 million. Yeah, another reason I found out a couple days ago that I don't think I'll go see this in the theaters, because I found out that Elizabeth Banks directed this.
Yeah.
And while I don't hate Elizabeth Banks, I'm still not really pleased with the fact that she insinuated that the reason that Charlie's Angels reboot flopped was because movie audiences are super sexist, and not that her movie was bad.
Oh, that's why I didn't like it. There's dumb broads in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's Charlie. Charlie's guy name.
Yeah, I thought I was watching a dude flick with, like, we were gonna have some.
It's like Hell's Angels, but it's Charlie's Angels.
Ripped, jacked, roided out dudes fighting crime, and like maybe
I
score
really
some
should have gone to
babes.
see Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Yeah,
that has some real men in it.
Oh yeah, probably. I should probably go see that instead.
So
Right.
Cocaine Bear.
We just want to do anything but cocaine.
Yeah, really
Bear.
just don't want to talk about Cocaine Bear.
Take a drink for every bear pun they do.
I've only skimmed mine, so I'm not sure how much that will be. February 24th, that came out 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 70% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Interestingly enough, about a 54% on Metacritic. So generally mixed reviews, but the review that isn't mixed is this one from Young Master Seth. Cocaine Bear, 10 out of 10. I am going to do cocaine. Submitted February 26th, 2023. I can't say much more than that. This was an amazing experience. Fun, chaotic energy, gory, and just plain entertaining. An epic adventure of the drug-induced story of this bear, and all involved was an amazing journey in theaters. That is one sentence. The comedic experience was amazing, and I genuinely enjoyed every moment of the film. I was bawling in laughter multiple times during the movie. Super memorable, super enjoyable. This is the pinnacle of cinema. I request an order of 1,000 sequels to this amazing film, an entire cocaine universe, and entire legend. Don't do drugs, kids. Or do, if you want to be like the bear. 8 out of 13 found that helpful.
Okay.
Okay. Or we're gonna do 2 bad 1 out of 10s, but bad they're good. Instead of doing the good bad ones, which are like, oh, Elizabeth Banks really missed the mark with this one, and like
Oh, you mean just the drag slop?
Yes, deranged.
Yeah, no, these are the most IMDb users on IMDb user reviews.
Well, that's
Please
what's
tell
all
me how
about,
this
baby.
movie is like racist or something.
Well,
Absolutely.
I was looking for where's the social outrage for this movie, and I found
Cocaine
it.
Bear 2 woke.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. No, by Aveto, 83406, reviewed on the February 27th of our year, Lord Savior 2023, whatever. Yet another project that promotes drug use, making it look like it's normal to do drugs. Not cool. People. What commas? Why? Not cool. People. It doesn't make you cool to use or sell drugs. and even it seems indirect. It is still promoting drug use. This is how they are brainwashing people into becoming addicts. And cocaine addicts don't realize and do not admit they are such. As a psychologist, I can tell you that addicts are losers.
Winners don't do drugs, kids.
Dude, I read this beforehand.
That is the greatest line.
I
Move
skipped that
over.
line.
How far would you go to be famous? Would you kill for it? Move over. The list of cinematic transgressions run long. We have a new best line in the history of this segment.
As a psychologist, I can tell you that addicts are losers.
Move over. Pizza Pipeline, Trixie Sticks, and Zesty cheese bread.
So if I say I'm a workaholic, am I a loser?
Yeah.
I'm just
Addicts are
addicted to
losers,
those.
Jake.
I'm just addicted to those sales when I go to JCPenney's. You know, am I a loser when I'm saving money? Bitch.
Well, as a psychologist, this person can confirm
I guess I
scientifically
am.
you all.
Scientifically, addicts are losers. People who use cocaine, quote, rarely, aka on the weekends, are addicted. And the ones who are addicted are the weak link.
Keep them coming,
The
but
social
The mental-
Darwinists.
The mental gymnastics, dude. If you dude, functional addicts, you guys are you're not addicted. You're good. You're good.
you'll be the first to die in the apocalypse.
But the ones who like start throwing away their lives because they're too addled on cocaine, fuck you. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Okay, so and the ones who are addicted are the weak link in the family, at work, in society, or all together. Once you realize that, you are good. Smiley face. 3 out of 18 found that helpful.
That might be the best review you've ever pulled, Jake.
That's good.
Oh, I found
That's gold. That's gold, Jerry.
That's gold, Jerry. That's gold.
I have to follow it up. Oh,
Yeah, I don't
With
think
that.
my second review can compare now.
you know what? But we're gonna try, and we're gonna try with the help of Floopy Goober, and his 4 out of 10 review. Cocaine might make this film bearable. Oh, giving it 4 stars on the basis that the violence is funny. Almost every other point in this film was a missed opportunity. A funny line here, an absurd moment there, a minute amount of entertainment in this very long feeling sub 2 hour cinematic disaster piece. I try to find the best of the bad bunch. Moonfall last year was actually an amazingly entertaining example of a bad film. Leaned into its absurdity and ended holding its own. This was a great premise with a lot of promise for a ridiculously over-the-top and zany adventure. The result, sadly, is a phoned-in characterless, empty husk of a film with few redeeming moments of ultra-violent hilarity and a tiny amount of funny back and forths, though not enough to give it a pass. If you make it through the first 20 minutes of drab exposition, you may as well stay and watch the rest. Try a stripe or two to get yourself in the vibe. The film doesn't bring it. 2 out of 3. 2 for 3.
All right. I don't think on like written word, my review here can compete with what Jake just unleashed. So I'm gonna have to try to bring some cocaine energy to it. Let's go. From Watson Paid. 10 out of 10. Is Cocaine Bear the defining movie of our time? Yes. Yes, it is. I was amazed at the varied age of the crowd of my showing. From 14 to 80, this movie is for everyone. We laughed together, and I haven't had a movie experience like that in over 15 years. I highly recommend it for a great time. We're talking about the movie, right? Even though it's only 90 minutes long, it feels just right. I wanted more. What's next? Shroom snake? LSD llama? Take my money. I haven't been this entertained in years, and I hope this movie gets the praise it deserves. Not everything has to be serious, and sometimes we just need a hilarious, ridiculous, but true premise to help us forget about all the messed up stuff in this world.
I laughed, I cried, and I prayed in 90 minutes.
That's good. It's time well spent. Thank you, Doug. For having found that helpful.
Okay. All right, I gotta try to at least come close. All right. Alea Hart. Alea Hart says pitiful. 1 out of 10. This movie is a perfect example of how disconnected most Americans are from the outdoors and wild animals.
Oh, a whole nother angle. I'm liking it.
If this was an essay, hooked in, hook, line, and sinker, baby. Native Americans. Go on.
The ancient Korean noble class knew the power of the king.
I've been a Native American for 25 years. Have long respected Bear as a teacher of wisdom and great power and strength. Only people so disconnected from the earth and wild animals could begin to find humor in this pitiful film. Do yourself a favor and take a hike instead of wasting money on this movie. Instead of anthropomorphizing or giving human traits to animals, they defined it for us. Thank you.
You always love reminder text.
Instead of anthropomorphizing human fascination with drugs in a bear, how could this be funny? Written by a Rocky Mountain tracker and friend of the wild ones. Wake up, America. The wild ones are disappearing while you are filling your brain with junk. 2 out of 10 found this helpful. Just asking questions.
Wake up, sheeple.
Wake up. Wake up, America.
The wild ones.
Was this Tucker Carlson? Back from his hike?
His alt account.
His alt account? Yeah, Alea Hart.
You know what we should do? We should get in touch with whoever does the fucking AI-generated Biden Trump memes.
Oh, God.
Get them to do these reviews?
Do some of these reviews, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
That'd be funny.
That's not bad.
That's a good idea.
They can read stuff like this 4 out of 10. It's like from Right On Daddy-O.
Right on, Daddy-O.
Right on, Daddy-O. It's like Snakes on a Plane or Shakespeare in Love. You know what you're getting in the title alone. The problem with this title in particular is that as a ticket buyer, you know exactly what you're getting, and this movie doesn't bring the goods. You want it to be bonkers, insane. It's not. This movie performs a number of tasks and ultimately fails on all of them. Is it funny? At times, but it's not a continual laugh riot. There are a few chuckles, but the humor is often short-lived and disrupted by the sheer carnage you will observe between the apex predator and its victims. I'm good with the gore, but some theatergoers might find it difficult to stomach. A movie like this, if it's good at what it does, can successfully balance both gore and humor. Not here. Rule number 342 of bad movies: kids in survival/disaster films are totally annoying. And surprisingly, if not shockingly, this R-rated film chooses to focus on 2 kids for a good duration of the runtime. Their southern accents are atrocious, and their being in this movie heaps on mountainous minutes of monumental boredom. Thankfully, this film only lasts about an hour and a half. The director, maybe the set designer, or the person in wardrobe, takes great glee in also piling on every single ridiculous 1980s style prop one can imagine, and it is tiresome. Okay, we get it. It's in the 80s. The music is good, though. This is not a scary movie. You'll be more frightened by entire super long stretches of dumb dialogue and the absolute misuse of the ever so talented and glorious Margot Martindale. There's also the tragic realization that this is one of the final films of the fantastic Ray Liotta. Both Martindale and Liotta perform more than adequately in the roles they're given, as well as the always gorgeous Kerry Russell. She suits up rather nicely in cheesy 80s garb, I must admit. So, Cocaine Bear isn't that funny or scary, so what is it? Exactly. This movie wants to be all things, but in the end, it's nothing, and really, it almost seems like a kid's movie. A stupid kid's movie at that. Maybe even an after school special. How's that for an 80s reference? 9 out of 26. How helpful.
Well, looks like Elizabeth Banks has another hit on her hands.
Bam. And then Jake's put another classic review in the bank.
Yeah, that's one that's going to stick with me.
Oh, for
As
sure.
a psychologist, addicts are losers.
Addicts are loose.
They're the weak link.
So that's Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
Down in third, we have Jesus Revolution. That revolved its way to a $15.8 million opening weekend in just 2,400 theaters. Hot on the per theater take of Cocaine Bear. This was the one about that hippie in SoCal, and Kelsey Grammer's in it.
Yep.
And it actually didn't look all that bad. Let's see what its reception is generally. So it was pretty positive in some outlets. It's got a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, which is typically the lowest, but only 57% on Rotten Tomatoes and 46% on Metacritic. But an 8.3 user score on Metacritic. So it seems like audiences like it. Critics not so much.
I mean, yeah, it's a movie with Jesus in the title that's in mainstream theaters. I'm sure it's doing very well for itself.
Well, you see, I'm not a Jesus person. The proper name for a Christian.
Yeah.
Jesus person.
He's Jesus-y.
But I was interested in this movie because it looked pretty. It didn't seem to be peddling an overtly religious message. And it looked like it could have some strong acting in it.
I think I'm just
that hair would beg to differ, though. You kind of starting to look like a Jesus person, if you know what I mean.
I do. I could put out an album called, or I think my autobiography will be called Ginger Jesus.
Yeah, Fire Kiss Jesus. Jesus kissed by the fire.
Jesus with the flame.
Jesus 3.
Jesus with +2 fire damage.
Jesus coming.
Avatar: Way of the Water drops 2 spots.
Oh no, James Cameron, your movie sucks dick, you dumb little idiot.
In its 11th week, it brought in $4.8 million. Good enough for fourth. Down only 25%. Let's see where it's at. It's $2.268 billion worldwide. So it's definitely not catching Endgame. It's definitely not catching the first Avatar. But I think James Cameron will settle for having 2 of the 3 highest grossing movies of all time.
I guess.
And 3 of the top 4.
He's all about them percentiles. In fifth, sorry, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, down from fourth. But it's in terms of longevity, it's up there with Avatar. It's in its 10th week here.
It's had a good run, and its box office total shows as much, $444 million. That's I think that's more than the last mainline Shrek title by a significant margin.
For those of you who've seen the movie, this definitely means we are getting Shrek 5 or Shrek the next one. Because at the end, the end credit scene is them going to far, far away land to go hang out with Shrek again. So we're gonna pull.
You know what? Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers clearly are under contract with Netflix. So as soon as those deals are up, they don't got a lot going on. I could get behind a new Shrek if you retain most of the original voice cast and animate it in this style. I could fuck around with that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it kind of would do.
I feel like they worked out the whatever rut they were in when they made Shrek 3. That was, I guess, that by the word of the Shrek scholars, that one was the apocryphal sequel.
I feel like they just kept on taking like ideas and like running with it. Like, what Shrek 2 was all about, like, didn't Donkey have like a bunch of baby donkey dragon things?
Nah, that was Shrek
And then
3. I mean,
Shrek
maybe the end
3,
of Shrek 2, but
Shrek 2 or Shrek 3 didn't then he started having like a bunch of ogre spawn, right?
right, Shrek 2 was they go to far, far away land, and the fairy godmother
And Prince
is
Charming.
trying to make and Shrek turns into a human pretty boy. And
Yeah,
that's
that
when
was
you meet
Shrek
Puss
2.
in Boots. And then they have one of the greatest montages, climax montages in an animated feature, where Kaiju Gingerbread Man storms the castle while I Need a Hero is playing in the background.
Yes. I thought that movie was a dream, but yeah, I remember
Shrek 2 wasn't bad. The first two Shreks were decent enough movies, even if a lot of the humor in the first Shrek were dated pop culture references when the movie came out that are even further dated now. Like if you showed Shrek to a kid who didn't grow up in our era, I don't think they'd appreciate it as much as we did, because they might not get references to movies like The Matrix or
the internal politics of Disney. I mean, to be fair, I didn't get that as a kid either, but that was a lot of the jokes.
But at least you were like able to recall it when you watched it down the line.
Didn't turn into mush in my brain. So yeah, things are looking good for, Shrek reanimated. Those guys, they're all cheering in there.
Shrek retold, yeah.
Yeah, in their weird little holes.
Especially the puppet guy.
Shrek puppet guy is happy.
He turned into a Shrek. All right. Magic Mike's Last Dance is in 6th, down 3 spots, $2.8 million in just its third week, so kind of took it on the chin there. $48 million worldwide.
Yeah.
80 for Brady. Dropped a spot, down 49.3%, $1.9 million. It's only made $37 million, but also it's made $37 million.
I was going to say only.
Yeah. What was, all I want to know is what Guy Fieri's cut of this film was. What was his fee?
I want to know who decided to make this.
Tom Brady. $28 million budget, by the way.
I want to meet the people responsible, so I can smack them on the ass.
Paramount Pictures, you sons of bitches.
Paramount, you were having such a good year. Well, I guess it's the new year, right? So 2022 is over. They have to follow up their good year where they put out a couple movies that people liked, and then start off their new year with 80 for Brady.
So it was produced by Tom Brady, Michelangelo Covino, Donna Gigliotti, Kyle Marvin, Jeffrey Stott. I don't know who any of those bastards are, but
they're just Hollywood people.
They're just
Tom Brady.
Big old wads of money walking around.
Knock at the Cabin falls down to 5th, $1.8 million in its 4th week. That, at least domestically, has done worse than 80 for Brady. Its international box office does put it over, worldwide at least, $52.5 million.
M. Night Shyamalan, you can collect your next participation trophy. M. Night Shyamalan, you can collect your participation trophy at the door.
Collect your precipitation trophy.
Because it's raining on your parade. Ooh.
Oh, got it. Pulled it around.
In ninth, we have Missing, which stays in the same spot it was last week, but it loses 41.7% out of 510 theaters. So that's pretty much wrapping it up. And rounding out the top 10, we have A Man Called Otto, which has very quietly had a nice box office run for itself, eclipsing $100 million worldwide.
Yeah, that's
with
pretty
several
impressive.
nominations, I believe.
Yeah, it's got a few. So very quietly, A Man Called Otto. Quality film.
People love their Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is great. I'm one of the people who loves himself some Tom Hanks. All right. That's top 10. And I think that's just about the follow-up. Let's talk gaming news, and we will only discuss a couple of stories. I think in the future I want to push this segment to be like each of us can bring a topic or a news story that we saw during the week, and then we can have some kind of more insightful discussion on it.
Sure.
Or open the floor for reviews moving forward. But we only got a couple stories because I finally finished Sonic Frontiers.
Let's hear it.
And I'm going to have some things to say. I don't think I'll be able to say everything I have to say. I think I'm going to have to make a separate review video for Sonic Frontiers. But I will give the overarching version of that. Kerbal Space Program 2 entered early access this past week. And it's very much in early access. Even very strong computers are being brought to their knees by Kerbal Space Program 2.
I'm wondering what I've heard the criticisms of it so far being that it's mostly like a reskin, because the big point of Kerbal was the underlying physics engine.
Yes.
And I guess people are complaining that there hasn't been a large improvement on that because it was already very, very good.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting because the guy who coded it didn't really know a lot about physics, so he was like having to ask around on forums and stuff, and there was a lot of involvement from the community in making Kerbal Space Program in an indirect sort of way, which is one of the reasons why it was so popular. And here we are, decade plus later, and the sequel's out, and it's kind of meh, but it is early access. I think that's an important thing to note about this, is it's not in a finished state. So things can change, improve, what have
There's
you.
a lot of chances to take feedback too. Yeah. So maybe, this is a good game for early access because everyone who knows how these things work.
Oh, they're going to get a lot of good feedback, I'm sure, because the people who are jumping on this in early access are the hardcores, as it were. The one thing I will say that's kind of shitty is that I know Steam lets this happen, that it's early access and all that, but like charging full price for a game in early access feels scummy to me.
Yeah.
But I guess it's kind of like pre-ordering, only you actually get to play the game. Currently, it has mixed reviews on Steam, with a recent bias being slightly negative.
Okay.
So the most of the complaints are along what I'm saying, charging full price for an early access demo that is very much in need of more time in the oven. But I think it will get there.
Keep
eventually.
going. Yeah, I actually have one. It's anyone who knows the kind of updates I bring may have an idea of this. If I mention the words iterative improvements, I'll give you 3 guesses of what game I'm talking about.
Well, even if you said I have an update, I'll give you 3 guesses of what game I'm talking about. I could nail it because it's either No Man's Sky, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, or Pizza Tower.
That's right. You got it in one. It was No Man's Sky. They released another update today, or a couple days ago. It's the Fractal patch. They're in version 4.1 right now.
Wow. Way
So
to go, coders.
Fucking never. They'll never gonna stop.
You know what? They've made. I meant every time you bring this up, I mention this, but they've really made good on the game, and I give all the credit in the world to Hello Games for their continued support of this game to make it everything they promised it would be, and at this point, a whole lot more.
Yeah. This particular one includes a new like expedition mission pack kind of deal. Improved, cataloging with like now they're like wonders, or I guess like kind of like legendary creatures. Better lighting, improved high dynamic range. There's a new land speeder kind of ship that'll like it'll fly in atmosphere. It's VR compatible now. New missions for the Switch. Game options improvements, some more cosmetics, Twitch stuff, and just a variety of improvements, and just getting better. I think a lot of this was focused on the VR, so now this is like a lot more VR compatible. So I gotta say, No Man's Sky in VR could be pretty sweet, especially when you're in your ship. That's like, that and like Elite Dangerous in VR could be so fucking comfy. Oh my gosh.
Well, I guess the big question is, have you had a chance to play around with any of the new update?
I gotta start new, because I think my current save file is like so far behind that I feel like it's almost not compatible at this point with the new content. So I may just start a new character, or because I think there's like there's different game modes too. Because there's like the single player, which when I tried to connect with you, it was like a lag fest, and it broke down because it couldn't handle us. But there was like a dedicated multiplayer mode, which was much better. So I may have to, I'm probably gonna have to start fresh and see just everything, because like I've missed out on like the living ship stuff and the mech updates and all the different vehicle updates, the new base updates. It's almost like a new game every 1 or 2 updates. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. That, I think No Man's Sky and weird comparison, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 are like, they deserve Lifetime Achievement Awards for how long after release they've been supported. Like Xenoverse 2 came out in 2016 and still regularly gets new content.
Yeah. There are world-class MMOs that I feel like don't get as much love and care paid attention to them as these games do.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. All right, well, time for me to talk about, or unless Jay has something.
Oh, I was just to say, some DLC was announced for a couple cool games out there that exist. Both about, well, I don't think Scarlet and Violet's a year old, but Elden Ring sure is. Elden Ring announced that they are in development on their Shadows of Erdtree DLC, which very hype because it is the biggest game that they've released. So From Software is in development on that. There's nothing else known. We just have a piece of art and an announcement that they're in development of that, as well as in development of their new game or whatever about robots in the future or some shit.
They did reveal.
Are they finally doing
the
sci-fi From Soft game?
Yeah, I think it's Iron Hearts or something like that.
Not to be confused with Atomic Heart.
Or Iron Skies or something like that.
Not to be confused with the movie Iron Sky.
Iron Sky was a fantastic movie. We should watch that sometime.
We have to watch it, but I may also have to see how bad Iron Sky 2 is. 'Cause I heard
you know what? I
it's
haven't
much
heard a lot
less.
about it. Although you did bring up Pokemon, they did announce 2 new Pokemon coming with the DLC, new Paradox forms, a future Paradox Virizion and a ancient Paradox Suicune called Walking Wake, which is a fucking monster competitively.
Oh.
2 things. It was Armored Core. I'm fucking dumb.
Oh, I remember Armored Core. Yeah, because I
yeah.
played FromSoft games back when no one liked them.
Armored Core
Yeah.
5 or something like that. Yeah, anyways. Or I guess it's Armored Core 6. I don't fucking care. Anyways, Armored Core, not Ironheart. I don't know why
Armored
I
Core's
thought
coming back. Cool.
that. 2, they made it completely different from the leak that was in the game. It's like in the game, I guess they put in a book the pictures of a primal or paradox form Suicune and a paradox form Verizon or
Virizion.
Verizon.
Verizon.
A paradox future form of Verizon, and Verizon's pretty close, a little close, but Suicune, they were just like, nope, different. I'm not saying it's bad. It's not a bad design, but yeah. He's goated. He's goated with the
really
sauce.
strong.
He's a
So
water dragon.
They all have water dragons. Very good typing, and between those 2 stabs, you have pretty good neutral coverage across all the types. And its signature move, something steaming haze or something like that. It's 80 base power, 100% accurate water move, but instead of every other water move, when it gets in harsh sunlight, its power is halved. It actually gets stronger. It gets 50% boost in power to become 120 base power, and photosynthesis triggers pretty much a life orb boost in the sun on your highest stat.
So we heard that, sun teams were just too powerful compared to rain teams, so we need to build in some anti-sun tech.
Well, rain historically has been the best weather. Well, actually,
Right.
Sand historically has been the best weather. Rain
Okay.
number 2. But yeah, sun now is really strong, and this mod is really strong on sub teams. I watched a Lord MV video at my lunch of him using a substitute protect leftover set on it, and it can just destroy everything with its 2 stabs and have ridiculous longevity. It also gets access to Dragon Dance, so you can go physical on it and just completely fuck over someone when they switch in their Chansey to wall your Walking Wake, and then they eat a fucking +2 Dragon Claw or Scale Shot.
That's grody.
Anyway, it's time for me to talk about Sonic Frontiers. I've got a lot of opinions on this game. A lot of what I say, it might sound like the critiques outweigh the commendations, but I want to preface by saying that I like Sonic Frontiers. I think it is a very bold direction that they've taken the franchise in, and I think it is similar to Sonic Unleashed in many ways, where I would say the game's like a 7 out of 10, a very good 7 out of 10. But it laid a foundation for future games to build upon, and hopefully we get the next 2 games are of comparable quality to Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations for the boost formula for this open zone concept. The game isn't perfect. There's some technical issues. There's really bad pop-in. Pop-in's probably the biggest technical issue you'll encounter, and it's on every version of the game. Also, by default, it's locked to 60 frames per second, which is not a bad frame rate, but when you're running on PC with a monitor above 60 hertz, you kind of want to use that. And you can unlock it, but it does cause a little bit of a glitch in one of the boss fights. But setting that all aside, for the most part, the game runs very well, and it runs well on a variety of hardware. Even on the Steam Deck, it runs at native resolution, no problem. It's pretty scalable. And the visuals, the atmosphere of the game at times is pretty incredible. I found myself stopping a few times to admire the views and vistas. And I was like, damn, this game looks pretty fucking good. The story is actually among the best it's been in a long time, particularly in 3D Sonic games. I think they got some people who were like really big fans involved with the writing of it, and the writing and the characterization of Sonic and Company is miles better than it's been in a long time. And there are some genuine like character progression moments through the dialogue. Particularly with Eggman, they really fleshed out Eggman quite a bit in his dialogues with Sage, who's the robot girl or the digital girl. But anyway, the Chaos Emeralds are drawn to this island. Sonic and Company go to investigate what's going on here. They think Eggman might be involved, and then everyone but Sonic gets sucked into cyberspace. And Sonic...
Just like Superman 64, baby.
Sort of. And Sonic has to go around and save them, and it leads to the gameplay loop, which is pretty basic. You are on an island. You can go wherever. The open zone is like you have... there's 5 islands in the games. They're each zones, even though islands 1, 4, and 5 were actually all originally part of the same zone. So they feel very similar in terms of aesthetics, which kind of hurts the variety, but that's neither here nor there. On this island, you have enemies. And there are big enemies called Guardians. And they're little mini-bosses. And if you beat the Guardians with a combat system that is not super deep, but deeper than anything that's been in a Sonic game since, like,
not just
Unleashed.
Yeah, it's not just boost into enemies to win.
Yeah. In fact, boosting is not as broken as it's been in the past. And that kind of we'll touch on that in the control section when I talk about control, because there are some minor changes to it. But anyway, the gameplay loop, you have the Guardian mini bosses. They drop portal gears. Portal gears are used to open portals into cyberspace. And cyberspace stages are stages that are reskinned sections of levels that already existed. So, like, they'll pull a 2D section from a Sonic Generations level, and there's a cyberspace stage. They're all pretty short. Most of them that can be finished in, like, 2 minutes or less. Some of them are pretty good. Others are not as good. But there's objectives, clearing with a certain amount of rings, getting all the red star rings, getting an S rank time, and one other mission. And each mission you complete awards you a vault key. These vault keys are used to obtain the Chaos Emeralds, because in order to fight the big bosses at the end of each island, well, at the end of 4 of the 5 islands, the Titans, you need to have the Chaos Emeralds, because you need to be supersonic. And you get 6 Chaos Emeralds. Usually, it's 4 through obtaining vault keys, and 2 are given to you by completing side quests, and the 7th Chaos Emerald is usually on the Titan itself. When I was originally kind of formulating this review, I described Sonic Frontiers as the bizarre love child between Sonic Adventure 2 and Shadow of the Colossus.
I can see that.
It does borrow quite a bit from both games in terms of presentation and control and whatnot. I will say the Titan fights, the boss battles, are the highlights of the game for me. Like, this game made Supersonic cool again. You're fighting these giant monsters. Gone is the butt rock of Sonic yesteryear. In is the new metal of Sonic's future. Big freak on a leash energy in some of these soundtracks, but it fits. It's pretty awesome. It's like you're playing an AMV. That's how I would describe it. And
Beautiful.
there is real scale and scope to it. And like the minute I heard that track kick in when I was fighting the second boss, it was late at night. I was kind of tired. My heart wasn't really in it. But as soon as that music kicked in, I was leaning forward. I was engaged in this boss battle. Those are some of the stronger aspects of the game. The control is a little bit different than previous Boost Formula games, if you're used to that. The biggest change is that your momentum doesn't carry forward the way that it has in previous games, particularly with boosting. If you boost in a direction, all of the momentum you acquired is canceled out and replaced with your boost, and then when your boost is over, you just drop like a rock. Now, having seen some of the advanced techniques that have been developed for Sonic Frontiers movement, I'd say overall the control is very good in this game. The platforming's more precise than it's been in a while. And if you master the new kind of quirks of the momentum system or lack thereof, which I would prefer to see return in a sequel, you can do some pretty neato things. And it felt like that when I was playing it. I'm sure that with enough time and effort, I will be able to accomplish some really cool shit. And towards the end, I got towards some pretty cool shit. The biggest complaint I have with the control is Sonic doesn't really feel that fast. And in the open zone, it's not as big a deal, but in those cyberspace stages, because it controls the same in both. In those cyberspace stages, his lack of speed really was noticeable, and it really made them less enjoyable to play. But fortunately, you can kind of skip a lot of the main gameplay loop through fishing. So there are several portals on each island, or on 4 of the second to last island is just a platforming challenge. You have to scale a bunch of towers that use the different platforming gimmicks in the game to that point.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting, pretty well done concept. But there's no boss fight or whatever. You just go straight to the last island from there. That's why I'm saying 4 of the 5 islands. Oh shit! What was I on about?
You were talking about platforming gimmicks, his speed.
Yeah. So the speed in cyberspace made it. Oh, I was talking about how you can skip the gameplay loop.
Yes, by fishing.
Fishing.
Sega fishing.
There are
they
portals
really want you to
that
do it.
take you to fishing spots where Big the Cat will trade you fishing tokens, which you can collect throughout the island, along with memory tokens, which are needed to progress side quests. There's different memory tokens for each trapped character. And you collect those, and through those quests, side quests, you get story progression and cutscenes. And the story is pretty interesting right up until the end, where they dump all the exposition on you, and it doesn't really wrap up in a satisfying way. And I won't spoil it in case anyone's interested in the game. And we appear to have lost Peter. But I can keep going. So you can collect memory tokens. You can collect Lost Cocoa, which are the rock people, denizens of these islands, this archipelago, I guess. And fruits of power and defense, which are used to raise your stats. The Lost Cocoa, you return to the Elder Cocoa, who can raise your speed and ring capacity. Raising your ring capacity is kind of pointless because rings effectively are your health bar. At maximum rings, you get a super boost, which is faster than your normal boost when you're not at maxed out rings. So
Can't
it
you
kind of
just
makes
spawn
sense
rings?
to not max increase your ring capacity because it makes it a little harder to do it. And I played through the game, and very rarely did I ever die because I got hit with no rings. So it's really not a big deal. I recommend increasing your speed foremost. Once you get to the higher levels of speed, and I'm talking like high, like level 80 out of 99, you start to feel like you're going real fast when you're boosting, which is fun, but it took a long ass time to get there. Skill points are very easy to mine. All the collectibles can actually be gotten by using the first skill you gain in the story called Psy Loop, where you draw a little glowing loop on the ground and rings or other collectibles will pop out, and you can actually sit there if you want and mine all the vault keys if you want to do it that way.
And just,
or you can more efficiently go fishing by trading these fish tokens that you can collect along the island. And if it was only the collectible ones, it wouldn't be as exploitable. But there's an event that occurs every few in-game days at night where a meteor shower will rain down and it will resurrect all the enemies you've defeated on the island so far and run a slot machine for some reason that will shit out a lot of these fishing tokens. So you go to the fishing hole with your hundreds, and I do mean hundreds. Like after one meteor shower event, you could have as much as 600 or 700 of these fishing coins, and then you fish, and you get fish tokens for the fishes you catch. And on the later islands, the amount of tokens you get is just absurd, and you can buy all the vault keys and lost cocos and power fruits that you want, effectively skipping the parts of the game that you find boring. So even if you don't like an aspect of Sonic Frontiers, like the cyberspace stages, they're kind of weak. But Sonic Frontiers is it's a weird game where it kind of gets to have its cake and eat it too. You get to engage with the parts of the game that you enjoy and skip over the parts of the game you don't enjoy with relative ease. And it's almost encouraged with how many of these goddamn fishing tokens you can get in the meteor shower event. Like, on the last island, I got a little bored. I got a little restless towards the end of the game. So, like, the last two islands, I pretty much skipped entirely by fishing. And I had 700 tokens both times I went to the fishing hole. And at that point, even if you catch, the shrimpiest thing you catch is worth like 8 tokens. And the most expensive thing in his shop is a vault key, which costs 15 tokens. Do the math on that one, kids. You can really exploit it. The music is a lot different than previous Sonic musics. You get some sort of familiar sounding songs in cyberspace, but not like any classic tracks. And the open zone is mostly like kind of haunting orchestral themes that they fit very well in the atmosphere, but they're not the kind of things that I'll listen to like I do, City Escape and other songs off the SA2 soundtrack. Although, like I mentioned earlier, the boss battle songs have been in heavy rotation for me for the past few weeks. As far as walking around the open zones, there's not a whole lot in there. It's mostly vistas, but I think the empty space kind of works because the intent is that you're going to be zooming around the island. And when you have high speed, it feels really satisfying. It feels like you're in the intro of Sonic CD. And I really want there to be a DLC option where I can play Sonic Boom as the background music. Give it to me, Sega. The ending of the story isn't super great. It kind of falls flat, and the final boss battle, mechanically, is an Ikaruga.
Totally different, right?
It's totally different. It's an Ikaruga clone, which is introduced as a hacking mini game on like the second to last island.
That sounds like that was pulled right from Nier Automata.
It's a serviceable Ikaruga clone, and Ikaruga's a good game, but it's just like this is not how I wanted this to go down.
That might be the mark of good Sonic games now, is that they'll have one level that's just a different game. Like in Sonic Mania, where you just played Puyo Puyo,
You played Mean Bean Machine.
Mean Bean Machine.
Yeah, that was a great boss battle, and I'm ready for that the next time I play Sonic Mania because I've been grinding my Mean Bean Machine, also known as a coffee maker. So yeah, that's Sonic Frontiers. It's one of the best 7 out of 10 games I've played in a while, and it has me excited for the future of Sonic for the first time in quite a while. I went on a little longer with that than I wanted to, but we'll jump right into our feature this week, which is Airplane.
And it's fine if this will be a pretty cursory overview. I don't feel like y'all should know Airplane. Okay.
Yeah, it's been scientifically studied to be the most laugh-a-minute comedy ever created. It's great. We earlier this year reviewed the other 1980 Zucker brothers film, The Naked Gun. And if you watched that on our recommendation and liked it at all, you'll like Airplane because it has all the best parts of The Naked Gun. You got Leslie Nielsen. You've got a lot of the sight gags. I feel like there was also a lot more of like just situational humor because you couldn't do as many sight gags because of the setting.
Mm-hmm.
You were a little more restrained in that way, but they made up for it.
I think it let the writing really shine through, and the writing and the actors kind of just either riffing or pushing that delivery of the lines super well, because you couldn't have a ton of situational humor since you're all in a plane together for the majority of the movie. But they end up pulling out some interesting things here and there with the two kids reenacting like an oldie time marriage or some shit, and then obviously the two black guys is speaking jive is a classic, whether or not it's a little dated or maybe not PC for nowadays, but I think it is pretty okay. Which they actually, I think they had a couple of black writers do that. I don't know if they're credited in this, but as the story goes, they wrote that. I think after seeing what they were supposed to write, they said, "Let us write it." So I think it was originally written by some white guys trying to write jive, and then they said
it may have been the actors that they had.
No, yeah,
now
it was
that
them.
You're saying it, I think that I do remember that story.
Yeah, that's how they get away with, I think, a little bit of their, kind of racial moments that maybe don't age as well as others.
Yeah, there are a few jokes in here that feel a little off color for today's lens, but nothing like particularly egregious. Nothing like I would consider to be bad.
Yeah, the other thing that people always pointed towards was like the pilot being like kind of like a child predator, and it's like, that's like bad, but the movie's also not saying it's a good thing.
And he never actually does anything to the kid.
Yeah, he never does anything. He just you're kind of insinuating that the
implications
are really
hilarious,
creepy.
and the questions he asks are hilarious.
Like the way that he just so frankly goes about it. Yeah.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
Yeah.
Do you like movies about gladiators?
I think the joke is that he just overtly says it like to a kid who it's totally out there. It's the last thing you would expect to hear from a pilot who's like, "Hey, look at the cockpit from
and like everything about the movie is finely crafted towards humor. Like even the names of the flight crew being Roger and Ober.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because they set those up. I just instead of like kind of going over every joke, I just say, let's all read what's everyone's favorite. Just instead of what's everyone's favorite joke.
Ooh, that's tough.
What's the joke? What's the joke that just sticks out in your mind after all the time?
So
This
many
one's a
of
small one, but for me, I think it's got to be where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's like passing out,
yes, and they pull
and
him
they
out
pull
with
him
their
out, and he's
basketball
just in his
shorts.
back. Yeah, it's just
I think my favorite is also with Kareem when the kid is talking to him. He's like, I think you're the best, but my dad says that you slack off on
he's
defense
just like,
and don't always run down the court. And he's like, hey, man, I've been hearing that shit since I was back at UCLA.
yeah,
I think that one might be my favorite.
that one's good. Yes, I mean that's one of the jokes that sticks out in my mind. We could rattle them all off. Jake, is there
Everything
any?
in the air traffic control office is
Yep.
amazing. I love every second of there.
Fuck, I don't know if I can pick my favorite one, but I think I got to go with like maybe one of the classics of just like the Don't Call Me Shirley, just the delivery between the
Yeah.
actors and
That and the
how
running gag
how-
of like, what is that? And then explaining what it like, like
Mhm.
the hospital. What's that? It's a big building with
Yeah.
patients, but that's not important right now.
it's just the
This-
clever writing. It's such clever writing where you can pull that out of a sentence and be like, could this be taken a different way? If so, write a joke about it because it will land 10 out of 10
It's-
times.
It is like a mortar shell. It landed in the pop culture and drilled in so far that like I feel like today, when you play that joke, someone will go, it's the old Reddit switcheroo. And then they'll link to the immense map of the old Reddit switcheroo, which is it's a rabbit hole of its own.
I'll give
Not for
some
this video.
honorable mentions to the two PA announcers at the airport with the different
Mhm.
zones loading and unloading.
Yes,
Because
and
it starts
that
out
one's-
as standard fare, and then they start arguing like a married couple. And also the
Yes.
scene where the captain shows up at the airport and he's accosted by all the Church of Religious Consciousness and Scientologists and stuff, and he just fucking John Wicks them all.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess to kind of put a different twist on this or to put something novel on it. I mean, we could talk about how this stacks up against the other movies. The similarities and differences for sure. I want to think. I kind of want to like dig into maybe why, other than the writing of the jokes itself, what kind of brings this to the next level here. And I think part of it, I was thinking about this while I was watching because I feel like I know all the jokes by heart, except for there's always one or two that you catch that's new. And I don't even know if this was a joke. It might have just been a quirk of the set. When they go to Rex Kramer's house, obviously there's the joke with the mirror where he steps through, but it's a weird side gag where when he comes down from the banister, I don't think there's a door or anything. It's just a stair that goes up into the corner of the room that goes up like 3 feet, and he's just standing there and he walks down. But a lot of, I think what helps this is that it's framed, the sets and the camera and the way it's shot are almost like stage play. Like, I feel like, I don't know if this is true, but I feel strongly that this could have been adapted from like a 2-man show or like a 3-man show, because all the sets are either like a one room or a cockpit or the cabin of the plane. Lots of little sets that all the jokes and such happen at like a small scale with small practical effects. It almost could be like props.
I feel like for me, one of the things that makes the humor work so well is the characters are all very earnest, but they're in a kind of crazy situation.
Yeah, it's it's almost like there isn't it's like everyone's a straight man,
Yeah,
but
like
the
everyone
zany,
plays it
like it's
really
like a
straight.
gestalt. It's like a gestalt zany foil to everyone's straight man. You know?
Yeah, but like the events that happen around them are all so ludicrous. I think it makes the absurd things that happen and like the gags that are kind of more absurdist hit even harder because it's very grounded in its presentation for the most part.
Hmm. I would say, I would also say that kind of humor itself, um, combined with the delivery of the dialogue, comes right from like Abbott and Costello, right? Because the just even stuff like very directly the "What's your vector, Victor?" Bit
Yeah.
that's like almost that's a cousin. That's like a first cousin to Who's on First.
So you are kind of right with your stage theory. So the Zuckers and Jim Abrams wrote this movie while they were performing with the Kentucky Fried Theater Group. So
Okay,
they were
right.
doing a lot of theater at the time.
And I guess Kentucky Fried Movie was just the film version of that show. I'm guessing.
I would suppose so. I don't know that for certain. But yeah, this it's a great movie. Like we can sing its praises till the cows come home. And um I'd be happy to do that, but I think it's better to just give you all the instruction to go out there and watch it. Because if you've
Yeah.
never seen it before, or if you haven't seen it in a while, it is 1,000% worth your time. It's not very
Yeah.
long. It's only 87 minutes, but you will laugh more in those 87 minutes than any other similar time window you could possibly
Like
imagine.
to to set the stage, I think before the credits come up, before the title comes up, the first thing that happens is a joke within the
Yes.
first 5 seconds of the movie
Oh yeah.
starting.
Yeah, the Jaws reenact. Yeah.
Let me just kind of read off some of the accolades of this film here. It was ranked 6th on Bravo's 100 Funniest Movies. In a 2007 by Channel 4 in the United Kingdom, it was judged the second greatest comedy of all time behind Monty Python's Life of Brian. In 2008, it was selected by Empire Magazine as one of the 500 greatest movies of all time. In 2012, it was voted number 1 on the funniest comedies ever poll. From what publication, I'm not sure. I would presume Empire. In 2010, it was selected for preservation at the Library of Congress's National Film Registry as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It is constantly mentioned as one of the funniest movies of all time. We've made mention of the scientific study done on it.
Yep.
It is number 79 currently on AFI's list of the 100, or Don't Call Me Shirley. I'm Serious and Don't Call Me Shirley is 79th on AFI's list of the 100 best movie quotes. In 2000, the American Film Institute listed Airplane as number 10 on its list of 100 funniest family films. Or funniest American films, my bad. It's not really a family film. It's not rated R. It's rated PG, yet it has boobies in it. It's a booby movie.
Booby movie.
But it's fantastic. The sequel is also, it's got some good jokes in there. It's not as good, but much like the Naked Gun sequels, where they weren't as good, there's still quite memorable bits from them that make them worth watching. So your homework, listeners, is to go out and watch Airplane if you haven't, or you haven't in a while, and enjoy yourself.
I don't know. The Goofs page on IMDb is pretty long, so I could go through all the nitpicks and tell you why it's the worst movie ever if you want.
I don't think there are really continuity errors in a movie like this.
No, that's the funny thing is that even if they're a continuity error, you can just play it as comedy. Nobody's gonna scoff at a stunt double if they see the actual actor in the background.
Well, like
It's
one
like
of
that.
one
That's
of her
funny.
favorite jokes in the movie is, strictly speaking, continuity error, because you've cut
Right.
back to a scene and the character's in different wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the joke. That is the joke.
Yeah, is that the obvious continuity error is not addressed. Um, I so yes, great movie, lots of accolades. I'm about to make a hot take right now.
Roll on my
I
sleeves in
think
case I have to
I
find out.
think they could go denser with it, and I say this because I feel like they improve in terms of their technique. I think it was refined and tightened um, in their subsequent films. So I was looking up. This came out before Top Secret. This came out before Naked Gun. Um, I think the only one that came before this was um, Kentucky Fried Movie, and I think this one has embedded itself in the pop culture because it was such a breakthrough. And then the Zuckers, they took it and uh, they really doubled down on it, because there are some scenes after watching the later movies. There are scenes where they're doing exposition or they're doing character dialogue, where they're just they're establishing the characters, they're moving the plot along, and in those scenes, that's all they're doing. That's not a bad thing. That's fine. Makes a good backbone so that you can put the jokes on top and still feel like you're not just watching you're not watching like a comedy stand-up routine, right?
Yeah, I feel
In
like
the subsequent movies, though, they started to do the front and back technique, where if there's not a joke going on in the foreground, if it's just exposition, they'll put a joke in the background so that there's something, if you're watching the plot, but there's also something you're laughing at going on at the same time.
yeah, I don't know that necessarily. I think you could go denser. You kind of walk a fine line between like going denser and becoming like Harvey Birdman.
Where yes, every single second is just insanity.
Yeah. Although I will say that like they make those changes, and The Naked Gun and Top Secret are great movies. But would you call them better than Airplane? I don't think I would.
I actually might, or at least they're on the same level. Like Airplane has some really iconic stuff, but I think particularly for me, I think the jokes in The Naked Gun just hit fresher for me when I watch it.
All right. Well,
That's my personal opinion on it.
that's certainly a take.
That's a hot take. I don't agree with that. I think you're dead wrong. Dead to rights. I'm coming after you.
I would
all right.
also.
I'll meet you at 3:00 by the flagpole.
I'm gonna send Otto, the automatic pilot, after you.
I also disagree, but like mature and well balanced adults, that's where it's gonna end. We're not gonna dox them or threaten violence.
I swear to God, I'll pull up Amazon right now.
We'll throw industrial grade dirt at each other's faces tomorrow on the factory floor. I'll bring the buckets. When I look at this movie and all these movies compared to other comedy films of the era, like there's levels, right? There's like this and like National Lampoon, but there's a lot of comedy movies in the 70s and 80s where there were like two jokes.
Yeah.
And it's just like a very straightforward, like kind of blandish movie with a lighthearted tone. And then there's like one funny thing that happens. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
Cool.
like television sitcoms are kind of like that a lot, like in pre and post Seinfeld, a pre and post Seinfeld world, because sitcoms generally had like the A plot and then a bit of a B plot. But when you got to Seinfeld, there was an A plot, a B plot, a C plot, and sometimes even a D plot, and they all coalesce by the end of the episode. And
Right.
a lot of memorable situations that come from that. And then after Seinfeld happened, you had a lot more shows attempt to do that. You know, Scrubs, How I Met Your Mother. A lot of shows borrow very heavily from Seinfeld. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
Borrow very heavily from that formula. And you
I
still
think-
had more traditional ones like, you know, Everybody Loves Raymond, where the A plot was Deborah's mad at Raymond, and Robert might be doing something in the B plot, and there's your episode.
Where the funniest joke of any episode was where Robert touches food to his chin before he eats it,
Yeah.
and the fucking audience explodes. In terms of movies, like a contemporary kind of comparison would be, you know, something like Anchorman versus like Stuber,
Yeah.
right? Where Stuber is like, I guess, you know, on the technicality, it's a comedy, but the number and quality of the jokes.
The
We're found to be
IMDb
lacking.
page did say comedy. But yeah, it had one joke. Like the premise was really predicated on one joke, and they, I would say they beat it into the ground, but I don't think they really made enough jokes to really have beaten it into the ground.
Right. The plot, it's one of those kind of comedies. The plot just sort of happens, and they kind of make quips over it. That's one of the things that a movie like the Adam Sandler vehicles are criticized for, where they're not actually making jokes. They're just saying outrageous things.
Yeah. Yeah, a joke.
Which is kind of failing in the other direction. Instead of having a very few quantity of completed jokes, there's a lot of half-baked jokes.
Yeah, our generation with the low random really hurt comedy, I think.
Ironically, though, I think a lot of this it fits right into our comedic sensibility. Like a lot of these scenes, if you cut them off early, they would be like, it's the same pacing as a viral video.
Yeah, I guess in some ways. But yeah, that's Airplane, baby. And we'll be back next week with something. Not sure yet.
I think. How about John Wick 4?
Oh, that's right. That's coming out. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then maybe Creed 3 the following week.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're-
yeah.
Get back in the flow.
Where
Yeah.
Kang fights his brother.
Yeah.
Can't
It's
wait.
an alternate Kang.
Alternate
I want
Kang.
that
Those
Kang
variants.
better be in the MCU. Goddamn.
Can't wait.
I want
Scream
Boxer
MCU. Oh my
Kang.
God. I love it.
All right. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.
Bye bye.